Good afternoon, all. Thank you for joining. This is the Townsend Finance Committee meeting for November 16th, 2021. We'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum of the Finance Committee. And so first option, next item is the roll call, and it needs to be a voice vote or voice recognition.
Gerald Bazikas.
Gene is here.
Andrea is here.
Sue Lucio here.
Sam, you're gonna come off mute. We gotta do the voice. You got mute in the lower left turned on. Yeah. There you go.
Hello, anybody there?
We got you now.
Thank you. Sam Grant here.
Okay, and Don Hayes here. The meeting is being recorded and also put out to the web on the
YouTube.
on YouTube and Channel 9, I believe. Okay. At this point, a question to Sue, just to make sure you're taking minutes remotely today.
Yep, I'm fine. I don't
Okay.
have the minutes completed for tonight, though.
Okay, thank you. Well, we can skip that. I think the biggest thing is getting to the warrant articles. At this point, I don't have any additions or deletions to the agenda. Does anybody else have anything to add to the agenda?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Nothing being heard. We'll have no additions or deletions. Next item, review correspondence. Have we had anything come in? Has anybody been able to check?
I have not.
Okay. Thank you. We'll moving on from that, the next meeting business, we don't have the minutes to review, so we'll move that into a future meeting agenda, which will now take us to discuss the special town meeting plan for December. Those
I have a copy of those down.
on the Zoom. Oh, sorry. Yep. Sorry. And we have a new copy of the warrant, and so people on the phone don't have the most recent copy.
Could somebody send us an email? Could I get that as an attachment in email?
Ross is heading out to do that now.
Thank you.
And they do have today's date with a timestamp of 14:55 as of 2:55 this afternoon. Tearing apart. Sorry, I was just grabbing the last copy I had to see if there was any changes to the first article as we review. So we'll wait for everybody to get copies of them, and then we'll continue. So it looks like they're sent.
one.
Um,
Hmm.
Russ, is this computer logged in as you?
Yes.
Is the file available that I could share? I hadn't even thought of that as I'm sorry, partly, we may be sharing, I don't know if that's going to require making us host in here.
He's doing something in there.
Okay, I just made Ross a co-host, so you can screen share on that computer.
Terrific, thank you.
The article.
We won't edit the file, it's just a display.
It looks like it's being displayed. Is that all you need, or is it?
Yeah, that's all we need. That way, if I'm jumping around, everybody has a copy of it, but if we're all looking at the same file, then we have it. Thank you. It's kind of, and I wasn't sure. I was just looking at the article just to see if there were any changes. Article 1, I see no changes from the last
Correct.
item that we reviewed. Article 2, as we had done in the past, I think that's the largest article, so I'd like to come back.
And that there's, the dollar obviously has changed. There's been
Yeah.
some other minor changes to it. Spreadsheet can get there.
Okay, yep.
So we're gonna come back to that.
Wait, yeah, I think that's the one that has the most discussion
Mhm.
because it's multiple line items
Okay.
in the omnibus budget, so I think it would be best to hit the others a bit at a time.
I don't believe any of the others changed, other than we deleted one that was for the $50,000 for the roof. It's in the library. That was deleted.
Okay,
Unless-
Thank you. The minute I put that mask on.
Okay, hey, you good?
so Article 3, again, same amount of
Same
money
amount,
as
okay.
Ross indicated. Article 4 for the water is still at 70,000. Article 5, the 130 for water also. Article 6 is 20,000, still the same. Article 7, so there's no change so far to any of the other articles that we had. And the Article 8 had been the roof for the library senior complex, and that has been removed from the warrant. Yeah, it's kind of, that's private citizen or group paying for that.
Yes, so no town funds, so that makes it easier
Yeah.
in this respect.
Then Article 9,
Well, the new Article 8
Oh,
is. I'm
yeah,
sorry,
Article 8 was
the
Article
Town
9. Yeah.
clerk's,
The town clerk,
bump for being certified.
right. And again, the list of questions that had been submitted, this does appear already to be on a line item on the budget, so I'm confused why if this is an additional stipend for a different training than what was on the
Same one, I think.
in the budget already.
Well, it's not meant to be duplicated. I got the impression that what hadn't been approved, so.
Okay, so it's we took it and added it in already with the anticipation that it would be approved? Because it,
We did, we voted on that.
You're talking
well,
about the annual town meeting?
at the annual town meeting, it was not on the list. But when the end of October report came out, there was a line in the end of October report showing that line already.
I think she said it had been budgeted already, but not specifically approved, which is why it's here now.
I think we did approve it.
We reviewed it and approved it, but as for the warrant in December. At the town meeting, there was a line for town clerk. That was $1,000 that says town clerk conference.
Well,
That's different, I think.
that's different.
Exactly. So that's the only thing in the approved budget that we voted at town meeting that had 1,000. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was our line 131 was already in the budget as approved with stipends for certification.
Well, she was under the impression it had not been approved, which is why it's here now.
I thought we had approved it.
Right, well,
Sure we had.
it's in the budget that was approved at town meeting with town clerk stipend certification for $1,000. So if we have a line for that certification that's in here,
But now, let me send this out. I will get that.
okay, appreciate it. It's kind of like, and I realize you don't have the annual town meeting book, but that's, so, again, it just gets us to an article that if it's already been approved because we approved the budget,
We don't
town
have to do
meeting.
it again.
we should not have to do it again, I don't believe.
Since she's here now, I can run down and ask her. if she wants to
Well, that'd be
move
good.
on.
Yeah, that's fine.
We can Continue, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I wonder if that was her taking the class and then receiving it after she
Oh, okay.
passed
Okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The new Article 9 is amending the bylaws, so it's not, there is no financial
There's no financial
impact
impact on it.
other than the fees.
I'm sorry.
Be right back.
I was printing this out and I was listening, but I wasn't listening.
No, no worries.
On the article for Kathy that we were just talking about,
Yes,
though, I don't understand why she isn't reading it. She submitted it, but she should read it too. And it's not about the money. It's about accepting the chapter and section of the Mass General Law that will allow her to pick up that $1,000. And then annually, she
Okay.
will just automatically get it.
Okay, so it's
okay,
annually.
so it's accepting the general law and it's already been budgeted, so we don't,
Yeah, so we don't have to worry about the money. That's right.
We don't have to worry about the money. We're just voting to accept the general law chapter into that. That explains it, that piece.
Does she want Kathy to read it though herself or to explain it or?
Well, usually the person who submits it reads it. I don't know why. It's fine that Chaz does it. It doesn't make a difference, but usually the person who submits it does it.
So
Yes, yeah.
I talked to the town clerk.
Mhm.
She said that the $1,000 was in the budget.
Yeah.
But town meeting never accepted the Mass General Law that enables that.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
So this process is basically to accept the Mass General Law.
and
And
there's
she'll
no money.
automatically get it.
She will get it, it's in the budget, and it actually doesn't impact the budget this December because it was in the budget in May.
Correct, okay, so it's not on a line in the,
So it's accepting the.
it's
So
accepting the Mass
This
General
doesn't
law.
add to the
It
changes, just approve, it just accepts the Mass General Law.
okay, yeah,
18.
okay, and again, I hadn't compared it to this list, and these are the lines that are changing, and that's not.
So what's changing in Article 9,
Um,
Article 9 was, that's the unregistered unregistered vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bylaw.
Yeah.
It changed probably quite a bit from what you've seen last time, in the sense that town council's gone through and perfected it.
Yeah.
I sent it out to the police chief and the building commission to be sure it is still what they wanted it to be
mhm.
after the town council looked at it. But
And again, as we had done in the past, I think where there's no financial impact
just kind of.
at town meeting, we're taking no action. Yeah.
That impacts whose budget, correct?
I'm sorry?
That impacts the police budget?
They would be
Not directly, I mean, not unless
Not
there's an
directly.
awful lot of.
Yeah.
citations
Traffic
going on.
violations, yeah,
Right.
okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Not directly.
okay.
Okay, so. On to, or back to Article 2. Any other discussion? I know I ran quickly through it, and I've been sharing the file, and so I haven't seen if anybody on the phone had raised their hand. Is there any questions? And I'm sorry, on Zoom, not just the phone. I don't see any raised hands, so we'll go back to Article 2. Article 2, as we look at the dollar value today, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate or transfer from available funds in the treasury the sum of $160,627. That has been adjusted a little bit differently, and attached to the last page is a list of the adjustments. And so the first line, the Board of Selectmen salary for town administrator, that adjustment and change is now sitting at $124,000 dollars now as a change from the last document we looked at. It had been 111, so it's 13,000 higher than the last we looked at it. There has been detailed breakdown associated with that. And so and it would depend on when the new town administrator would start, exactly the amount that would be needed. So this is based on approximating a late March or April start date if the town administrator search goes out. And I know, Sue, last time you had a question on, could we break out the original town administrator salary amount as what we were, this wasn't really an operating budget item?
That's correct.
And Ross, had you taken an action to look at, see if there would be a separate line that we would be able to move?
I talked to the select board and their feeling is it's overly in there as the town administrator's salary. Unfortunately, unfortunately for the town, it includes 3 people.
Yeah, but
And
yeah,
I think, I mean, everybody recognizes it's a breathtaking number, but Veronica has gone through it in detail to figure out what we have to pay the past town administrator.
Yeah.
She's estimating what they're gonna be paying me,
mhm,
and she's estimating what we're gonna pay the new person starting April 1st.
Yeah.
And I think her estimate actually has me, sort of phasing out, maybe becoming more of a consultant towards the end.
Yep.
And that's fine with me.
okay,
But
mhm,
we don't
Right.
know that until we
right,
have a start date and know what that person's salary is. In this whole format, I was trying to keep to the same
mhm,
lines
Mhm.
Yeah.
as used in the annual town meeting.
Right,
okay,
And
Yep.
there's some things that might make more sense to put in different accounts
Mhm.
next spring.
Mhm.
right,
But I thought for comparison purposes, I would keep as much as possible the same line items.
right.
I got Don's suggestion and then I found a line item in the previous budget that
Mhm.
was for the acting fire chief. It wasn't in the
it was
May
not,
town meeting.
Yeah, but
Because there wasn't one then.
Right.
But I put it in this, and since there's no line correlation, that's why you see the 3 X's, because it wasn't in the May town meeting.
it's the next, on the screen, Jerry, it's on it would be on the last page in the drafts here too, but the next to last line, fire EMS
Oh, yeah.
for the stipend.
Yeah.
It says XXX because that line did not marry to
Right.
the annual town, but there is already a line for
Oh,
the
yeah.
stipend for acting chief in the accounting system. So we're putting those dollars instead of on the chief's salary, it's going onto the stipend line.
And I took sort of an assumption that that would continue through June 30th.
Mhm.
We don't know the status of the current chief.
Yeah.
And therefore we can't predict how
We-
long
Right.
the acting chief will go.
Mhm. So
We'll have-
So the amount for the stipend is based on a worst case scenario of paying all through to the end of this budget.
Yes. And I think it's everybody's hope that the dates will all pull in both for the fire chief and the town administrator, but we can't predict that
Mhm.
at this stage.
And I guess my question on that line would, since we're sort of jumped down there, there's already a payment that's existed at about 7,200, I think, or 7,500. Is this an additional 28,800, or is that total for what would be on that line? I just want to make sure if we're going to budget, we put in to the budget the amount that it's going to be.
It's 6 months at his rate. so-
Okay, so then what's already been paid, it will be included in this, okay.
And this is the amount that we think we need in addition to what was available.
Mhm.
Dawn,
Yes,
can we go back to the town administrator?
yep. That's,
Payout amount? Has anyone asked the town accountant what the cleaner way from an accounting perspective is? Or is it just the TA and selectmen saying, let's leave it in the budget? I'd appreciate it if we could hear from the town accountant. She's been doing this for an awfully long time. She might have an opinion as to what's best.
I believe, having had conversations about this number with her, she's comfortable with where we're doing it.
Yeah.
As long as there's money there and we know where to charge it to when we pay the salary, it all works out.
Yeah, I just, my concern is what I said before. It makes it difficult for you to follow that in the future. Okay, you're not gonna know what the result of that versus the base budget is. I just want to keep the base budget clean. I mean, we've been through this kind of thing before where there's been a line item in there that, I mean, think about the, well, Ross, you weren't here at the time, but we had an issue before with the dropping our own communication center and all of the costs associated with that and flipping those over. And it just became unruly to look at, and it caused a lot of questions for several years because of that. I don't see what the objection is to moving it out of the operating budget. And then you can also say that, you know, whatever amount you're asking for is really not, see, it's not an operating budget. That part of it is not ongoing operating. And we're using free cash, or you're suggesting that we use free cash to fill in these amounts. What I'm suggesting is get it off of the operating budget, because you shouldn't be using free cash in there anyway. So it's one thing if it's $50,000, it's another thing if it's, you know, 100. I just totally disagree with the way this is being done. I think it's sloppy bookkeeping, but that's just my opinion.
I share Sue's concern about using free cash, but I'm trying to avoid raising taxes immediately. I think every item on here is essentially operating budget. And normally you don't use free cash for operating budget, but I'm going to submit this isn't a sort of a normal circumstance. We could take it out of stabilization, which may even be worse from probably her perspective and my perspective, or we could raise an appropriate, which might be worse from the taxpayer's perspective.
Right.
But I think it's a salary item. It shows there. Hopefully, in 2 years, that number will come back down to being normal. And I think everybody will remember, you know, why was there a 50% decrease in the town administrator line item? It's because for a couple of years, you're paying for 2 or 3 people.
Right.
And now you're, in the future, we're paying for 1.
You know what? I'm going to just, if you don't mind, I'm going to give the DLS a call. I'm fully supportive of the idea of using free cash if we have it to pay for that amount. All right. I'm fully in support of that, but I would feel better if it weren't in the operating budget that we were doing that. It's enough that we're already, you know, that we're planning on doing it for the rest of it. By moving it out of there, you're not saying, and the auditors aren't going to look at, oh, wow, look at how much money they put in from free cash into operations, which is a no-no. You said it yourself, Ross. So that's my
It's
objection.
not.
It's-
Using
Right,
free
I'm not
cash
gonna-
would-
I'm not going to belabor it. I said what I felt. If nobody agrees with me, that's fine. I can handle it. Thank you.
I was gonna say, at this point, I don't think source has been totally determined, so I think we'll continue that conversation when source of it has come up and been identified.
May I ask a question?
Of course. Andrea, thank you.
To bring the town administrator's salary to full payment at the end of the fiscal year, how much of the adjustment in dollars will go to do that?
Actually, the adjustment is to pay for the staff that we need to replace the original town administrator. The town administrator's salary is what it is and it's being paid. So that continues at the current rate, monthly
Well-
rate, or biweekly on the payments. So
If that's the
the
case,
addition-
then where is Ross being paid from now?
from right now, it's the,
From that line item.
from that line item. It's kind of like,
Right.
and that's, so the payments are pretty much the the previous town administrator and the interim are being paid and the salaries are coming out of there. So the money in that account is depleting quicker than it would have been anticipated to make it through the year. So that's why the change we're looking at.
I
Your-
understand that. I understand that. I just didn't understand how much went for the previous TA and how much went for
Mhm.
Ross.
Yeah.
The other thing I
the-
wanted to know is to what account will Ross's salary go? Once it's raised, the change, this goes through, say, where will it be accounted for? Will they create a new account for him?
No, it'll be in the, exactly this line item, the BOS salary, town administrator.
Right.
Line item. And that account will pay 2 salaries and eventually 3 when the new person is hired.
Out of this one line item?
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah. Which
It's
Yeah.
one job, it's just
it's
unfortunately being
multiple people being paid
covered by
from,
3 people.
oh, I understand. I
Yeah.
understand that, but that works even less for me now than it did before. But I'm just confused, I think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me
no,
too.
yeah, I think everybody is looking at it and we were looking at town administrator and we were thinking one line for the salary for that position, and now we're having multiple people being paid for that function.
So 3 people are coming out
Except
of
that
that.
It between the anticipated start date of the new, there would be 3 people. The previous town administrator, the interim, and then the new town administrator starting at near the end of this fiscal year.
Well, how is that going to go on the books since originally the 133 was just one person and now it's broken into 3? How are they going to break that? How is the accountant going to break that, or the treasurer rather, going to break that out?
Because there'll be amounts allocated for each person, and she'll know that when she writes a paycheck for TA1, it comes out of there, and TA2 comes out of there, and eventually TA3 comes out of there.
Mhm.
That's not a problem for the accounting folks at all.
Well, it's for the treasurer.
There's
The
enough
treasurer
money.
pays salaries, not the accountant.
Treasurer pays them, but she assigns account number, and the accountant has to agree. I mean, there has to be money there to pay the bills, and this just puts it there.
I understand that, yeah. All right.
Okay, right, yeah, what's that? And then, again, if we're doing analysis and analyzing it, line 5 is associated with that settlement also. So that line is being increased by the 2569 to cover just the town administrator.
Previous town
The
administrator.
previous town administrator, thank you. Kind of. Now, that amount, when it was voted and explained at town meeting, was to cover fire chief salary increase, police chief increase, and the town administrator. And at the time, the discussion was that in this special town meeting, we would take and move the appropriate amount. Now, this is being used to strictly settlement for the previous town administrator. And the other 2 lines will be coming in individually. And I guess that, that sort of on the settlement, is that considered a salary and part of the salary that would be going to the previous town administrator? And again, my understanding was that it was used for vacation,
It's
buyback or.
Vacation buyback?
part of his compensation.
Hmm,
So it was broken out by salary and vacation, but yes, it's part of his overall
It's,
compensation.
yeah.
Slipping in uneasy.
Okay, any other questions, comments relating to lines 1 and 5? Okay, the line 33, which was the accounting salary, it had been in the budget sitting at 72.5, and the hire that was done was at 77,775, so that was bringing it up to match by the $5,000 to match what was being paid. And at this particular time, that's the amount that's in the budgets. And it's an operating budget right now. When I looked at the town website, it appears we have an interim town accountant and a deputy town accountant that would be being paid from this line.
I think the answer is yes, but this was actually the salary for the new town accountant. I had to raise the amount that we're posting that job for because we weren't getting any takers at the
Okay.
previous rate.
So this amount
And
is
this
to.
reflects just what we expect to pay for the balance of the year,
Mhm.
January through June.
Yeah.
It's not a full year's salary because I haven't found the person yet.
Yeah.
And we're not changing what we're paying the assistant.
Mhm. No,
accountants. So
yeah,
So those numbers are already in the warrant and they're covered, they're covered without needing to change it.
right. Yep. In the interim, again, the interim and the people that are interim being paid against this line also, so they're drawing down on that salary. And again, the support staff changes, as you said, that's, there's the detail that was with that in the previous spreadsheet. Was detailed why that adjustment to meet the 26.1 number for the calculation to get the true annual salary. Any other questions on 33 and lines 33 and 35 for the accounting? Nothing being heard. Well, the treasurer and collector and their staff. The adjustments. The treasurer collector wages will be an additional 4,240, and the operating staff is decreasing by 2,413. Any discussion on the treasurer collector lines? Okay, nothing
John,
with, yes, so,
my understanding was that the assistant treasurer is now helping out, trying to fill in a little bit for, you know, for the treasurer. And I thought I had heard that they were giving her an additional stipend to do so. But wouldn't that be line 87? Because line 87 says union, and I believe that's a union position.
the stipends I would expect to be a separate line than the salary
Exactly,
line.
that's why I'm
So-
bringing it up.
Okay, so Russ, do we have a line is the assistant
No,
treasurer?
we're paying the assistant stipend out of the treasurer collector's line item salary. Because that's right now, it's a vacant position.
Which means 482.
So the treasurer collector is no longer here.
Yeah.
And the stipend we're paying to the assistant is coming out of that line item. Because she's doing some of that work.
So Dawn,
Gave her a
Yeah.
fuck.
I mean, I wouldn't mind that, except, I mean, I know that possibly that's where the money's gonna come from, because that's where the available money is from. And it
Mhm.
makes sense that you would take it from there, but wouldn't you do that more with a transfer of money? So that it's on its own line?
Well, I guess I'm hearing the terms and my understanding of a stipend is paying for additional duties, and a stipend is not taxed like a salary is. A stipend,
I believe the stipend is treated as ordinary income and is taxed accordingly.
okay.
But it's paying for work that's being done as treasurer collector,
Mhm. So
and it reflects the work. So I think it would be inappropriate to put it into the assistant treasurer collector line item, even though that's who's getting it,
mhm.
because it's not a normal process. It's coming out of the treasurer collectors. I mean, we can pay somebody's salary out of any account you want practically, as long as there's money in there.
Right.
And we understand that that money is for that purpose.
Mm.
We just
So-
try to adjust the higher salary so we have room to hire a new person.
This increase, the 4,000, that's the salary increase that the selectmen voted to give her for outstanding performance?
That's what came out of the Collins Center study. That was part of the whole adjustment that was unknown when the annual town meeting happened. So the,
All
with the
right,
exception of the town administrator and the acting fire chief, most of these adjustments are adjustments that were pending union contracts that weren't ratified or solidified in time to be put in the annual town meeting.
all right. So the salary raise that the selectmen voted to give her is just going to come out of the regular treasurer's wages.
Correct. The
Yeah.
stipend, yes, will come out of the regular.
If it adds to her salary amount, it's not a stipend.
Right.
It's an
It-
increase
it's-
of salary, just straight.
Or,
There's not
They
no-
didn't refer to it as a stipend at all.
Well,
Didn't
the
vote
selectmen
it as a
voted to pay her the selectmen voted to pay her a stipend.
No, they
And
didn't. They
we-
voted to increase her salary by $300.
was it the salary or was it the number of hours being worked? Is it additional hours that?
They
She was working both.
said at the meeting that she was doing, and she was, an outstanding job. They're all hours, early, late, on the weekends, and that she deserved a reward. And they voted $300,000. It was my opinion. There was an additional 3,000, or not 3,000, excuse me. I'm overly generous, I guess. $300 a week. But it was never referred to as a stipend. It was a reward for doing
Yep.
this, and they spoke of it as just a salary increase. The same
Well,
with
Well,
I beg to differ. It was positioned as I asked for it as a stipend. The intent is that when the full-time town treasurer collector is hired, that stipend will go away because she won't be doing extra duties. And one reason for having it as a stipend is it's something you can identify and add, and then you can identify and subtract.
Mhm.
So
that's fine.
it
But
makes
when
sense as a
was this?
reward, but we're doing it as a stipend.
When was this done? That's referring to it as a stipend and putting it as a stipend, because it certainly wasn't done at the meeting where they voted it.
I asked the board to approve a stipend for the assistant treasurer collector, and that's what they voted. They may have said it was a reward, which it is, but I think we're talking semantics. It's $800 extra a week, and it goes away when we finally get a treasurer collector back.
Well, and that wasn't discussed either. It came off at the meeting as simply an increase for outstanding performance to go on forever and ever. There was no discussion of it ending ever. The same with Gary Shepherd.
When I put in when I wrote the employee action forms that changed their pay, it's referred to as a stipend. And I can tell you, my intention is when they're no longer serving double duty, those stipends will go away. And I'm sure they're not gonna argue if you want to continue paying them that rate.
Oh, no, I don't want, I just want to get it clear. I think it's,
Right.
I think it's terrible when people are led to believe one thing and outside of a meeting, another thing happens and the other thing goes into place. That's all.
Well, I am confident that both the acting chief and the assistant treasurer collector understand the terms that the money will cease when they are stopped doing double duty.
Well, with the deputy chief, though, off and on throughout the year, he will be doing double duty. Will that kick back in
I
every
should
time
have
he
said, I
does?
should have said acting, I should have said acting chief. So that position is no longer needed. That stipend will end.
Okay, but during the year, if, for example, if the new chief or the chief went and goes on vacation, the deputy again would step into his position, then the stipend would kick back in?
No, there's a compensation plan intended for deputy chiefs for that reason. It's a lot less, because the duties are essentially less, but an acting chief, in my mind, is over and above what the deputies would be asked to do on their regular work.
Right, okay.
I can assure you, we're not pulling a fast one on any of these employees. I think it's very clear in their minds that this is a temporary thing, thanking them for doing extra duty, and it will cease when they no longer have to do it.
Yeah.
Probably they would both be glad to give up the money and give up the extra work as part of that deal.
Okay, discussion, we set on discussion of the treasurer area. The town council legal fees, the professional services is 17,000, which is same as we had last time, to increase the original budget line from 63,000 to 80,000.
$17,000.
$17,000 increase, yes.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Russ, do you know the hourly rate?
Why is that?
Well,
What does it relate to?
the work that they've done with the contracts and the extra work that was unplanned for,
So this is
Contracts and labor.
unplanned work that they were given, right? Is that what that boils down to?
There's a number of
Right.
personnel issues that are over and above sort of normal town
Mhm.
municipal legal support.
and what's the hourly rate?
I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay.
I'm thinking,
I was just trying to get an idea of the number of hours that this covers roughly. Kind of,
I would say it's probably close to 100 hours.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money.
it is, but there's base, if I remember,
Was it all to do with the union contracts and stuff like that? Is that what it was? A lot of it? I know we can't get into details.
yeah, we can't get
Yeah.
into details, but I would think in the work with setting up
The scope of work.
the scope of work. So the 63 was a baseline of
Right.
their,
What
this
they
is the work
normally
we do,
Right.
and then there was
Anything above and beyond?
above and beyond, and it was a small amount of hours that
Right.
we had budgeted for, so it was a tight line,
Yeah.
again, to try to keep and hit that the balanced budget, because at the end, we were sitting at like under $1,500
Okay.
on between the expenses and the revenue, their forecast revenues.
Okay.
Okay, and just quickly gonna go through the others, because all of these adjustments were finalized with the Collins and the union, down to line 233.
From 173 to 233?
173 to 233.
Those are all union. That was all union, right?
Those were all union in the Collins. There was the temporary help and part-time cleaners are non-union
Mhm.
positions, but the rest of it is the union.
and the part-time cleaner for facilities is because we're keeping the gentleman that comes in 3 times a week and sanitizes all the municipal buildings.
Mhm.
He has a sprayer, a fogger, and then he hand wipes and sprays every time service, and he does it here, library, senior center.
Right.
I think he does water and police.
Mhm.
And I budgeted that for the end of the year. Maybe we'll stop sooner, but it didn't seem prudent to stop that when the CARES Act money ran out that was initially funded.
Yeah.
I think we've got to continue that, so that's intended to be in there.
Mhm. I don't see that stopping,
Not for a while.
not for a while,
I'm gonna look as far as June 30th to say you're probably right.
yeah.
And the facilities communication was consolidating and putting the library and senior center over into this facility. There was a small amount budgeted for communications in those two that Ross City would take a look at and see if those what those lines supported, whether it was the same or not. But so that's on
And
the
I think those line items, the library may cover their CW Mars connection, which is appropriately charged the library, but we're
Right.
decided we're going to centralize support services like IT and phone. And we had some issue a couple months ago of really going like this as to where the point who was going to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Decided to put it facilities and put some money into it.
Okay, any other questions on the facilities communications? Okay, I don't see any hands raised. Quiet. The police chief salary and the fire salary were the adjustments and the negotiations last year. These are just putting the appropriate values on those lines. The stipend for the acting chief, we've already covered. And the adjustment for the building commissioner. Again, finalizing what was in flux. Okay, sorry, just looking at the time to see. Any questions in the end there? Ross, we don't have the final final decision where the money is coming from. We're still waiting for the free cash validation.
Yes, Terry sent in her balance sheet to the state, I think, Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're waiting for the state to review it and come back and certify it.
Okay.
Unofficially, rumors are that we will have more than enough free cash to cover this number and still leave a workable amount to be used for town meeting and appropriate things next May. But we don't have a number yet.
Okay, so
When I get that number, you will know, and then we'll finally decide how we're going to fund all of this.
okay.
Dawn?
So. Yeah. Go ahead, Sue.
I know you were asking at the last meeting for actual and projected revenues and things like that.
Yes, I was, just to see where we are with the projection.
I didn't see anything
actual-
come through. Do we have any of those numbers yet?
No, I was seeing your
Terry's
head
been
shake.
busy trying to get the books closed and get
Get the free.
certified. So now that that is moving, we will have revenue to date. I hope that by the next time we get together, but it's coming. That's a fair question to ask. But,
So it's still an open item to be addressed. And Ross, I know you shared information with me on an email. Is that okay for me to pass to the rest of the finance committee
Yes.
to show the estimates? Okay, thank you. So I will distribute to everybody the projections for the town administrator line, the specifics of the estimates to get to meet this 124,000 line, so that we
And
see.
you may have gotten 3 versions or 2 versions of that, so
Mm,
look for the one that has the 124. I think it's 123 and change, and I rounded it up a little bit. but-
Okay, yeah, I think that's, again, we're estimating when the town administrator search will go through and when we can make the offer and hire, so that's
Has that
an
started?
open-ended. We had our initial meeting, the Board of Selectmen and I would assume Ross is putting together the posting that's gonna go out to start getting candidates. So it's in motion. We did meet to get our groundwork set.
So all your committee met.
The committee met, and that will continue on. And I'll give a little bit more detailed update on that at the next meeting. But we're anticipating, I think it is early December to post it and then start. Then I think it's a 6-week posting time or 4 weeks to start getting applicants and starting that review process. So it will be moving forward, but right now is no action on it because it hasn't been posted yet. So, okay, I apologize. It's now 5:07, I think, for TCAM and Hartley. We need to consider any other items for discussion.
Are they leaving us?
I think I had only booked it from 4 to 5, so I've gone over,
Oh,
because we want to make sure that there's no overlap between us and Selectmen. They have time to back everything up and do all their
Okay.
work, all the technical work that they have to do.
so we're gonna continue or not after?
Well, we were at the building inspector line was the last. Oh, did I miss the last page? I missed pages. Sorry. And I thought I was at the end, but I was only at the end of that page. So there were 2 building inspector lines. The assessment for North Middlesex is decreasing by the 49,263.
Thank you, North Middlesex.
Yep. And the highway wages are being adjusted again, a final settlement for the union and the contracts. Cemetery and parks, the superintendent and the operating foreman, again, finalizing their wages from what we had. It was tentative when we approved the budget in May, and so that's just the adjustment. The Townsend Housing Authority, Board of Health. Sorry, I'm jumping. Any questions from anybody? There's small adjustments and finalizing for Council on Aging. The director was finalized, the step and the line, the library line is adjusted, the recreation. And then the last 2 band concerts, the 500 was due to the wall that heals the extra.
Mhm.
un-
Yeah, to Vietnam Wall.
Yeah, the Vietnam Wall, the visit in July, that was an unplanned, originally unplanned need for the band. And then the last one, the general property and liability. The annual town acceptance was based on an estimate of 3% rate higher. And so it was budgeted at the 295 and the actual bill came in at the 311. So that 16,000 is higher, but is just matching to.
And actually, it was 14 and change, but Carolyn met with the workers' comp auditor
Mhm.
yesterday. And they had some reclassification of people working, and that increased the workers' comp about $1,500. So that's included in that $1,600.
In that 16.
$4
Yeah.
change.
Okay.
But we have to know about it, so we thought,
Mhm.
might as well put it in there.
It's kind of, now I will, overall, with the amount of changes and things on the salary lines, are there going to be any increases to contributions that are needed to the, is it the county retirement board or any of that? We seem to be increasing salary. I'm just wondering other costs that are going to go up related to salary increases that we're going to need to anticipate.
I guess the short answer is yes, but it's probably negligible amount to the point that it can be addressed in existing budgets.
Okay.
I mean, we're not adding new
We-
positions, so people's insurance, health insurance
So-
shouldn't change.
Right.
Retirement contributions, yes, but
Mhm.
some of this is so variable on how many hours someone actually works by the end of the year that I think it's close enough that we don't need to examine it now. But that's a good question.
So their health insurance did not increase,
We're not increasing the health insurance at this point
right,
because we're not really adding people.
correct.
The town's not paying me health insurance
Right.
and
But when we do add these people,
When,
well, the only addition planned is the
we,
new town administrator.
Right.
And that's gonna be April, we hope, so it'll be a relatively short period.
what about the other two positions? Are they part-time positions, treasurer and,
but we were paying for the people that were in those positions
Anyway.
before they left.
okay.
So we started
So
this
it's
year
still the
with people in
same.
the positions and we were paying those.
And you may actually have a couple months holiday, we're not paying for it, so I think that will account for it, and it's an increase. It's the point where I don't think, we don't see us walking off a cliff on those budgets and needing to adjust them now.
Okay, that's,
You can mark my words if I come back in the spring and ask for reserve fund transfer or something, but I don't see that happening at this stage.
okay, so the final number that we're approaching at this point is the 160,627.55. Okay. I don't have anything else to discuss. Any other questions?
I noticed, North Middlesex, what about Michelle Tech? What is their,
We've not heard from them on adjustment.
uh,
They can't go up, but we haven't
Yeah.
heard them talking about going down. So
Right.
we're gonna assume it's the same.
okay.
Don,
Ross was here first with a question. I'll get back to you soon.
I was gonna ask if the finance committee would consider voting to recommend the 166,2755 or.
Okay, let me get to Sue and then we'll bring that up for discussion. Your question, Sue?
I'm gonna go back to expected revenues and where are we at with expenditures as well? Because, and it's not just expenditures, but it's also other places that we might be able to take the money from. I'm not opposed to the money part of this. I'm concerned about where the money's going to come from. And unless I know the whole picture in terms of revenues and expenses to date, I would not be comfortable voting on it right now. So I'm anxious to get those numbers that we've been waiting for. I hope by our next meeting we could have those. Or even before, so we could look at them.
Mhm.
I mean, if we could take
Okay,
any of
yeah.
it from other places besides free cash, it's just not a good idea to be doing it in the operational budget. And
Mhm.
it wouldn't be responsible of us, I don't think, to make a decision prior to having all of the numbers. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, understood. Any other thoughts from the rest of the Finance Committee?
It's hard to make a decision without all the
With-
numbers.
In looking at, again, to Sue's point, other places, there's a position for webmaster. It has a dollar allocated, dollar value added to it. Is it a freeze on that? So I think we don't have a full list of everything. I think the closest we could look at is that end of October budget and go back and look at the lines and the percentages on there. And I will point out that if there was not a dollar value or a dollar amount allocated to a line, and I have seen some zeros allocated and money put against the account, it's showing as zero instead of any kind of indicator that it's a negative number, that we're overextended a line. It would take it with that report. It's a line by line thing because you can't just search and filter on things like an Excel spreadsheet would give us. So maybe that's something we need to do is take a look at those and identify lines that have dollars on them and don't have a dollar figure. Number one, and see, but the other one are, if we are about a third of the way in, are there any lines that are really low that they don't see being expensed later on in the year? And the larger, I mean, there's certain lines that are sitting in the 90 percentile and 100 percentile, but they're 100% used, but it looks like those aren't going to be used for anything further in the rest of the fiscal year. So it's trying to identify those pieces and those lines. So Ross has asked us to take a vote just to see where we stand. So I'd like to, and I can't make a motion. Would anybody introduce a motion to have the Finance Committee approve or address what our expectation is for the 160,000?
I have a question
Yeah.
regarding your request. I don't
Yeah.
understand why we need to vote on it now. We've already said we know we don't have the information we need. Why would we vote on it?
Well, that's the piece. It's kind of like, I was just trying to,
Let's straw vote.
just a straw vote to see.
No.
Are we,
No, I won't do a straw vote if I don't have all the information. I think it's irresponsible. And I won't make a motion or second it.
I think I have to go with Sue personally.
I don't think we're ready to go.
okay, then,
You can't spend what you don't have, and
right,
we don't know what we do have, so you got to fill in the blank spaces first with all the possibilities of where it's going to come from.
okay, understood. I hear no motion coming forward. Ross, I think, did you hear and understand? We're looking for a full accounting before.
Absolutely, I understand that.
So there's no motion coming forward on that. So we'll be looking forward to seeing revenue numbers and those other.
Yeah, I was hoping to get it printed in the warrant, but it could be a statement you make at town meeting floor.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I know we have a lot of information that
We'll be going.
would like to have and should have.
I have a question about, may I direct a question to Ross, please?
Yes, please, go ahead.
Ross, you've mentioned a couple times having to get this to the printer. I think we usually just create those in-house because the most copies we need is maybe 150. That's if you're lucky. I mean, we usually don't have a horrible crowd. You know, I
I
don't,
agree with you. 150 is the number I'm hearing, maybe a little bit more, and we would probably print those in-house or Staples.
Mhm.
I just figure a week's lead time, it'd probably be a lot less if we do it in-house. I'm hoping that the select board can vote and sign the warrant at the meeting Monday.
Mhm.
This copy will go to town council for final proof tomorrow morning. The selectmen will hopefully sign it on the 22nd, and then we'll post it on the 23rd. The printing, Sue, you're right. If it's been done in-house, that'll be quicker and cheaper. But I want, if I can get your recommendation into the copy that gets printed, great. If not, you can make your recommendation at town meeting floor.
yep, that makes sense to me.
Okay, that being said, are we ready for adjournment
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
at 5:23 PM? Yeah,
Question, please. Are we still meeting with the Board of Selectmen? We're on their agenda.
are we? I looked earlier, I didn't see us
That's
on
why
their
we had
agenda.
one Zoom call, because we were supposed to just take a recess from this one and rejoin the Selectmen. I thought they had us.
6:30.
We're on
Pardon?
at 6:30?
6:30.
Okay, we're on at 6:30.
I thought it was going to be 5:30, but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
are you guys going to
Yeah.
hang out there?
If I go home, I won't come back.
Yeah,
Well, you're welcome to Zoom it.
we can zoom it. When I looked at the Zoom, it was a different Zoom number.
It was supposed to. It was supposed to have been the same number so that
Yeah.
everything.
I
would
looked at
continue.
it. And I'm sorry.
Hey, sorry to interrupt, but I posted both of those meetings and they are separate from my end. So I guess it would just be a matter of when you guys want to come into the selectmen's meeting, come in, join the meeting, and you'll all be let in.
On the selectmen
Okay,
meeting, on the
but
Zoom, this on Zoom.
but the question is, are we just taking a recess now and rejoining the meeting? Otherwise, you're gonna run into a quorum issue.
You're also gonna run into a posting issue.
Exactly.
Yes,
I'm gonna
I
stay.
have to bail. You gotta see my daughter's homework.
I mean, I thought we talked about this whole thing last time and it was all figured out how it was gonna happen, but because they knew that we were meeting at 4 and we talked about we'll
Right.
probably get through at
And-
5:30.
I think we can still legitimately recess now and reconvene at their meeting and still be all set.
Sounds good to
Okay.
me. But I'll have to pass.
Okay. And we'll have a quorum for the finance committee at that time.
How many do we need for a quorum?
4.
Okay.
You wanna stay or go home?
Yeah, I was gonna get home and do the Zoom.
Okay. You have to send it to me then.
Okay, I can send you that Zoom.
Jane, what are
link.
you gonna do?
I'm going
So-
home now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be here.
So I
I
will
told them
move
that
to, I will
I'm
move
gonna
to
eat.
recess.
12 o'clock,
Yeah.
12 o'clock for the select.
No.
Dawn? I move-
Okay, yeah,
I move
so
that we recess until the selectmen's meeting at, what, 6:15
Oh, on Monday?
today?
yeah,
Oh.
today, yeah, I think there's another conversation
this
going,
morning?
so we're gonna go to recess for,
12 o'clock,
and
but they said it was.
join the other
Oh, I don't
Zoom with the
remember that.
selectmen
You don't know,
at
that's why we're
6:15.
here now.
You need to
that-
vote to
yeah.
recess, Dawn.
Oh, I saw that, yeah.
Okay, so your motion
I
is
don't-
to
I don't think
recess
you did that. I
for,
mean, I don't
Well, we
know.
haven't got to the 30th
Can
yet.
we get one conversation, please?
so the motion from Sue is to recess now at 5:27 and we start at 6:15 in the selectmen's meeting.
You're on their agenda for 6:30.
Okay, make it 6:30.
Make it 6:30. Thanks.
Put the tea on.
Thanks, Dave. Okay, so do we have a second on the motion?
I did already.
Oh, thank you. I missed it, Gene. Okay, then voice vote. Roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Aye.
Yeah,
Sulicio,
Don
yes.
Hayes, aye. Don Hayes, aye. Thank you, unanimous. Thank you all.
Thank you.
So,
We'll see you at
These
6:30.
See you
are the
at
dates I wrote
6:30.
down.
Yeah,
Okay, now,
okay, thanks all.
that came
On
up a
Zoom.
couple of days ago, let's see what's posted.
yeah.
Looking at posted